In increasingly multicultural societies such as Australia, wouldn't the outright ban of garments that are identifiable with a minority culture, such as the burqa, wouldn't that be seen as a step backwards? And I address that to the Senator. So,
Cory Bernardi, I mean, yes, you've called for a ban on the burqa, so let's hear from you first.
I have, and I've called for a ban on the burqa firstly, but I want to make some points. The number one point is most people don't understand what a burqa is. A burqa is essentially a mask. It has a mesh screen over the eyes. You could also refer to the niqab, which is another mask that simply has a slit for the eyes. This is not about scarves or anything else. This is about masks that are worn in public. It is not a religious garb, and there's plenty of Muslim scholars that say this. It is a cultural garb. Now, when people come to Australia, or whether they're born in Australia, we have a culture. It is a meshing or a merging of many cultures, but it becomes uniquely Australian. And a key part of that is the fact that we can identify each other. We now have a situation, and this is a personal view, where people who can walk into a bank or any other secure area in a burqa and remain unquestioned about it. I think it shuts people off from society. I think it sets different rules for different people. I don't want to see that. I think what the very least we can expect is that people will be able to see other people's faces in this country.
Cory, just before I move on to the rest of the panellists, I'm just intrigued. I'm intrigued by what prompted your call, and I'm wondering if you believe you're picking up some sort of widespread backlash against the burqa, or is this a backlash that you're promoting yourself?
No, it's certainly a personal view, but let me just say this, that what prompted me to write about it was the fact that it was used by a criminal to rob someone in Sydney just that morning or the night before. But I've followed this internationally, and sometimes in public opinion, politicians have to lead public opinion, and other times they have to reflect what is public opinion but people only want to whisper about. And frankly, what I've seen overseas, I've lived in Islamic countries, I've visited places where the burqa is very common, and there is now a problem with it. If we think that we're not going to have a problem in 20 years as the burqa becomes more prevalent, I think we've got to think again, and we've got to nip it in the bud now and say, enough's enough. We have a different culture, a different society here, one that is open, where you can see people's faces and you can communicate effectively with
Let's
others.
hear from the rest of our panel. And let's start with Claire.
Okay. I have to be honest here and say I think it's a confusing issue, and I think it's a complex issue, and I'm sure I'm not the only Australian who feels that way. I think, you know, it might be easier for us to dictate that all women should wear bikinis in summer and full-blown bodysuits in winter, but that's not the way our world seems to work. We have to actually ask the women themselves who are wearing the burqa what they feel and think about it, and we also have to just play it seems to me that this kind of approach is playing the ball and not the game, honestly. I think I'd like to see a hashtag of I wear the burqa. I'd like to hear what those women think. I don't think we can dictate or impose our feelings and thoughts and fears, actually, upon another minority group. I think it's important that we leave the discussion open and that we do not dictate to women what they should or shouldn't wear, because I think that sets a dangerous precedent. But I also think we're confused about it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we're confused about it for this reason, because we see seemingly liberal countries, or countries that we previously thought of as liberal and forward-thinking, such as France, currently in the process of banning the burqa. Thank God they're not burning it. That would be a different issue. And I think that throws, you know, it does need to be brought to debate. It is an important question. It's obviously, you know, of great concern to you, Cory, but I think that we just need to tread carefully when we're talking about imposing our cultures on other people's.
Let's hear from the other side of the panel. Mitch Grady first.
Well, I think there's a very fine line between a country who, through a law, interferes with somebody's choice by banning the burqa, and a country who, through a law, interferes with somebody's choice by forcing them to wear a burqa. And I don't think it's about, with regards to the question, what about, you know, in a multicultural society? I think it's what about in a liberal Western democracy? And when we're having these debates, we need to go back to first principles. When do we ban something in a Western liberal democracy? Well, first of all, we have to accept that in a Western liberal democracy, we all have rights and freedoms and choices, and that those rights are not granted to us at the whim of the state, but they're granted to us on the basis that we have innate integrity as a human being. And so, what it essentially means is that rights in our society must apply axiomatically. You don't need a reason to give somebody a right, but you do need a damn good reason to take it away.
Okay.
And I don't think we've had the case made out by Cory to take it away at all.
Let's see. Passionately stated. Let's hear from Maxine Mitchell.
Okay. As far as Europe is concerned, what worries me about the trend we're seeing there, I think the banning of the burqa in, say, some European countries, that may be the quickest way to radicalise another generation of young women. And I don't want to see that.
That's it.
I also look at what happened in the last century. I also look at what happened in the last century in Europe, and when countries in Europe felt the chill winds of economic fragility, they targeted people on the margin. Let's keep that in mind. Now let's come to Australia. I have yet to see a burqa in Bennelong.
You should be there more often.
Cory, I was in the Baptist church at West Ryde on Saturday, actually, and very interestingly, the young people there actually hit the same kind of tolerant note that Mitch has just done. They're the same kind of people who are arguing that they should, we should work to eliminate poverty in third world countries. They're the same kind of people that actually think that if we stand for liberal democratic values, then we don't have any divide about that. And if you want to look for a reason that Malcolm Fraser has quit the Liberal Party, you look at the kind of announcement that you have just made, because it is a basic tenet of liberalism that you allow people freedom of expression, and I'm afraid one of those freedom of expressions is the freedom to dress as you wish. Okay. And I will just make, excuse me, I haven't finished. Excuse me, I will make a final point, Cory. You referred to somebody adopting the burqa and attempting to rob a bank. I have not yet heard from one authority, one law enforcement authority, suggesting that the banning of the burqa would be an appropriate response to the incident that you have suggested.
Okay, I'm going to... You actually gave us a cue for our next question. It's a video question. You're watching Q&A.